Hi, I'm Ade Peck, Editor-at-Large at Inside Unmanned Systems, and we're here right now with Omer Sharar of InfiniDome. Well, hope your plane trip wasn't too long from Israel.
Well, I have to say that if one thing, it wasn't easy getting here, but definitely worth. Seems like a great show.
Okay, so you have, we've covered your product lines in the past, and now you want to talk about GPS and GPS jamming and unjamming, I guess.
Yes, I mean, first of all, Abe, thank you very much for having me here. I think it's a great opportunity, and I really love what you're doing, so really thank you for the opportunity to talk. A little bit about GPS. I want to start with general comments. So we all know GPS. We all use GPS on the way to and from work on our cell phones, but GPS is made up of 24 to 30 satellites orbiting Earth at about 20,000 kilometers above ground level. And like GPS, there are other systems, like the Russian GLONASS system, which we all use, Galileo, the European system, Beidou, the Chinese system. They're all, the acronym from all of them is GNSS, Global Navigation Satellite System.
And as you know, we publish a magazine inside GNSS.
Exactly, of course. And they're all using the same known frequencies. We call them L1, L2, L5, the L band. And the problem is that the signal, no matter which constellation we're talking about, by the time it reaches Earth, is extremely weak. I always like to say it's about the equivalent power received in New York from a 20-watt light bulb you light up in California. That's about how weak GPS is when it reaches your phones over here. So all one has to do really to overpower it or to jam it is to transmit something in the same frequency, a little bit more powerful than that very weak signal, which is what I'm holding in my hand right now. I carry it with me on the plane. Don't tell anybody. It's between you and me and your listeners. But this GPS jammer today you can carry on a plane because nobody really knows what it is. It looks like a battery. But this thing, when I flick the little button over here, it creates a perfect denial of service of GPS for anybody around me for 100 meters. And all one has to do to make this a kilometer effective away, then to amplify that signal. And you can buy these things off the shelf today on Amazon. And that's why the threat to GPS is no longer a big soldier lugging around a big bag with a bunch of antennas. It's an idiot like me walking around with a GPS jammer stepping on a plane. And that's why we at InfiniDome decided that protecting has to change as well. It can no longer be big systems made by fantastic companies that, you know, these systems were developed to protect fighter jets and helicopters and defined by the DARPAs out there. We believe that we need proportional protection, not for the high-end 2% of the military applications, but for the rest of the 98%, which can be very critical systems. And let me bring you to drones, and multicopters specifically. So we all know about multicopters going in BVLOS missions, beyond visual line of sight. And to support all of those modes, you basically need a stream of data of positioning, which today comes from GPS. So the first thing that goes away when you take away GPS, when you jam it, is all of those wonderful BVLOS capabilities. But more so, GPS is not only used to do that, it's also used to basically stay in the air. So the first thing you see when you jam a drone, and I really recommend you seeing that, because seeing is believing, and when you jam a GPS of a drone in the air, 50 meters in the air, what happens is not it says, I don't know what to do, it lands. It acts very violently, takes a very rough angle, and drifts away in seconds, disappearing and sometimes crashing into the ground. So that is considered the Achilles heel of drones today, GPS. Now coming, after I scared you enough,
now it's
coming finally to
a solution,
Yeah, exactly. So we develop GPS anti-jamming solutions. They're retrofitted, which is very unique in that field, meaning that I can take any GPS system you currently have, any drone you currently have, disconnect the antenna from your receiver, plug in our module, and this can be a 35-gram OEM module.
And this is one of two form factors, right?
Exactly. This can be a larger form factor, still less than 500 grams, that basically can protect from up to 3 directions of attack at the same time. So 3 jammers attacking you simultaneously. But the advantage of this thing is that it's retrofitted into your existing system without the need to recertify or change anything in your system. So take your current system, unplug your antenna, plug in our module, plug in 2 to 4 antennas, and there you're just, by doing that, you made your system 20 to 100 times more resilient to any kinds of attacks. Now, I have to say, and maybe I'm shooting myself in the leg here, nothing is bulletproof.
Of course.
So if you come with one of those big Russian truck jammers close enough to your drone, even I can't help you.
Right.
And that's when I always say...
But they have to be that disproportionate.
Exactly. And you still have to be that much closer.
Right.
And even then, I always say, if your mission is critical enough, don't trust me. Don't trust anybody. Don't create a single point of failure of your system.
Right.
And that's what...
But for that long tail that you're talking about, the 98%.
Exactly. But also that's when you can start thinking about multiple layers. So what actually we did with Honeywell, which is an investor in the company, and we have a joint cooperation with, we built something called the Resilient Navigation Suite, which combines an INS, it combines radar velocity system, and it combines our anti-jamming. And we basically created sensor fusion that allows you, no matter what, to operate in both GPS challenged and even fully denied environments and complete your mission.
Super. Well, that's great. So that's really a full explanation. That's terrific. Why don't you just give us a very quick summary of other product lines that you're really working on now at InfiniDome?
So one of the things, it's still a little bit of a, let's call it a skunkworks project, but still it's a very, very interesting project. One of the things that we did in GPS Dome 2, the larger, higher end system that protects from up to 3 directions of attack, we had to create a sensor inside that senses how you're being attacked, what power, how many directions of jamming we're seeing right now, what frequency is being jammed. And then I told myself, well, a lot of times, especially in the commercial and homeland security world, people say, I didn't have GPS. They can't say I was attacked. That's a very big difference.
Sure.
You want to know where and when and how you're being attacked. And I said, well, if I can take that sensing module out, slap it on an IoT module, one single board IoT module, just feed it with power, even with battery, and then start aggregating data from the field, collecting data to create a little bit something like a GPS weather map. And we call it GPS, Integrity and Attack Monitoring Service. The idea is to integrate sensors on the ground, collect data from them, and integrate them into UTMs, integrate them into drone operating zones, and even integrate them into airports. Because one of the things that we saw, for example, Denver Airport not long ago was jammed. Nobody knows why, but that affects heavily the throughput and the yield of the airport and the effectivity. If we can say, all right, we can characterize the attack, maybe even give you a rough location of hot zones of where the attack is taking place, we can actually protect,
start to suppress
or at least reroute accordingly in real time. And that's something that we plan to do proof of concept programs this year and launch this service fully next year.
Oh, that's great. Well, when you do, get a hold of us and we'll collaborate with you in print and online. And if people want to reach you, what's the best way? Website or,
Best way is website. I'm LinkedIn.
What's the and the website again is?
It's www.infinidome.com.
Great. Okay. All right. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Abe. Thank you for the opportunity, guys.
Of course. Thank you, Omer.